The Fresh Toones Music Show is underwritten by the Animation Workshop at Animated Studio, providing animation instruction since 1993. Please visit their website at animatedstudio.com. Let us sing now, lift us up to higher ground. Let us see and hear the sounds, a rising sun and the birds that sing. Release the song, let your love take wing. Welcome to the Fresh Toones Show. My name is Dave Paltz, and I'll be sharing some fresh tunes with you that came right out of some poems that I wrote. I've been doing these shows with the theme of writing your song from a poem, maybe sharing a little bit of where my last couple hundred songs have come from poems that I wrote. And I was hoping that maybe if I shared some of that experience with other songwriters or people that are involved with other arts, that poetry might loosen up their brain to start going to some areas that they normally wouldn't sit down and write about. The first poem that I'm going to share with you today is called There's a Star, and it ended up being a song by the same name. And I guess it's kind of like the North Star or something to give us direction. There's a star up there, and if we can see it, maybe that will give us some guidance, give us some direction. And here's the poem called There's a Star. There's a star. There's a star, luminous with love, with brilliant notes her clarions announce, to melt the haze, to radiate throughout, a summery dream to keep us warm, to bask in her light, to bear out our love. And now here's the song that was inspired by that poem. There's a Star. There's a star shining with love, with brilliant notes the chimes are rung for us to come, to melt the haze and see, to radiate and be the light we've seen. A summery dream to keep us warm, to bask in her light and bear out our love. There's a star there in the dark sky, a blinking light to guide our lives, to steer us home, to steer us home where we belong, to give us words to write our songs, to give us hands to open wide, so we can shine our light and give our love and be the star we want to be. There's a star shining with love, with brilliant notes the chimes are rung for us to come. There's a star there in the dark sky, a blinking light to guide our lives, to steer us home, to steer us home where we belong, to give us words to write our songs, to give us hands to open wide, so we can shine our light and give our love and be the star we want to be. Well, that song, There's a Star, always gets me bouncing and swaying and getting into it. And there's a pretty cool music video to it up on YouTube. If you check that out, Dave's Fresh Tunes. Tunes has 2 O's, not a U. And search There's a Star. I think you'll enjoy the video. So maybe check that out. This next poem is called Anger. And it's directly connected to January 6th and Mr. Trump. And it speaks to the anger that I was really feeling on that day and the bizarreness of what we were seeing in this country and that we're still seeing. It's called Anger. Anger. The king with bitter words shouted out his acrimony. The quarrelers belted out their chants of rageful glory. Their enmity that vexed us with flags that they misused could not disguise the malice, the bile that they spewed. Indignation in our nation, by more than just a few, spoke volumes of where'd we come from, stained with failures, still much to do. But our past is not a prison. It's time for us to do, to stand and wave the banner for the fairness that we choose. Well, the song that was inspired by that poem, Anger, is called Only Right. And as angry as I was when I wrote the poem, when I sat down to write the song, just played an acoustic guitar, added some bass later. But I followed that poem pretty closely in the words. Sometimes I totally go off away from the words from the poem, but it was inspired by the poem. The song is called Only Right. The king with bitter words shouted out his acrimony. The quarrelers agreed with their chants of rageful glory. Their enmity that vexed us with flags that they misused could not disguise the malice, the bile that they spewed. Indignation of our nation by more than just a few spoke volumes where we came from, stained with failure, still much to do. But our past is not a prison, it's time for us to do, to stand and wave the banner for the fairness that we choose. And the people sang the words they knew of oh so well, the ones that spoke of fairness, the ones that built this land. It's always been a struggle, it's always been a fight. We've always known inside us to be fair is only right. One more time now, and the people sang the words that they knew of oh so well, the ones that spoke of fairness, the ones that built this land. And it's always been a struggle, it's always been a fight. We've always known inside us to be fair is only right. 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 Well, over the last 3 years, I've written more than 200 poems and songs, songful poems to go to those poems. There were a few that I just recorded as spoken word. The Poetry Avenue opened up, as I've shared before a little bit, by someone that gave me a book that was called Write a Poem and gave a list of like 7 or 8 words connected to a theme. And that really opened up doors for me to really start thinking differently about things I had to say and later songs that I needed to sing. Not too long before I received that book from a friend, I had read Jeff Tweedy's book called Write One Song, and he had told in that book of his that sometimes when he was in an airport or whatever, he would pick 7 or 8 random words and then make a column of another 8 random words, and then just played around with drawing lines between the 2 lists and combining those words that would click some verses for him. And that's how he came about to write some of his songs. I tried that, but that didn't seem to work for me. It was just too random. This thing about writing to a theme and having a few words to spin around in my head really opened up that door. Whatever way you can find to maybe play around with poetry or prose, as a songwriter, I think that's a good avenue to go down. These next lines of prose is called Sadness. And from my 13 years at working at the Rochester Psych Center, counseling folks, trying to get them back out into the community, a lot of those folks were depressed and had some really rough lives that they had experienced before coming to the hospital. So in my counseling, I got exposed to some really harsh experiences that people had to share with me. And it wasn't until 40 years later that I experienced some of that depression and some of that sadness. It wasn't too long after my mom had died of COVID that something kicked in that I couldn't get out of, and it was just a spiral down. And after I wrote the lines to Sadness, I really captured a lot of what I was feeling in a song called Net of Sadness that I'll play right after these lines of prose. Sadness. Dysphoria overwhelms with a heartache that rends. A bleakness consumes, a nail that will not bend. A sorrow of woe, despondent with grief, the suffering won't go, refuses relief. And now I'll play the song called Net of Sadness. In a net strung with sadness, here do I sit. The waves cannot save me, the braids still resist. No breath can I take, no solutions yet seen. The cold all around, oh how mean it all seems. But I still dimly see the light. I hear the foghorn in the night. For ships who've lost their way, to direct them through to a better day. I've clawed back in the past, but this time seems more. The whirlpool's bigger than ever before. Pick up my pen to fend back the villain, to release my balloon to float towards the heavens. And I still dimly see the light. I hear the foghorn in the night. For ships who've lost their way, to direct them back to a better day. From high up above, it's vaguely revealed that love still exists. If we persist, we can heal. And I can see the light. I heard the foghorn in the night, for a ship who'd lost his way directed me to a better day. Directed me to a better day. Well, when I got into the routine of every Saturday and sometimes Sunday morning of writing a poem or writing some lines of prose, and I sat myself down and I'd look at that theme, and I'd really be kind of blank until I started adding some other words, and sometimes I'd flick through a mythology book and maybe some old phrase book, other things to get me to think outside of what I normally would be writing about. When I sat down to write something for the theme of Glee, I started to think about some of the people that really brought joy to my heart, and the look in their eyes when they were full of life and loving, and we really related. Kind of started thinking about that, and also by the end of the prose, I thought about how much they would be missed. So in some way, I hope I captured some of that. Sometimes these are like koans that are little like throw out a few words and lines and hopefully capture what I was feeling at the time. Glee. The glee within your eyes is ecstasy to see. The delight in which you bathe, give all that see good cheer. With struggles you have strained, but contentment now holds the reins. Your elated love gives bliss, your raptured will miss. Well, I've never been much of a poet, although in my early 20s and in college and being exposed to poetry in college and thinking about, I'd love to write some poetry, and gave it a shot and said, boy, I suck at this. But 50 years later, something clicked, and I feel comfortable doing it now. I might not be a great poet, but it certainly opened some doors for some new songs that I pretty much thought I had said everything I had to say with my songs, and all of a sudden this poems and prose just opened the floodgates for me and got many, many songs written in the last 3 years. And now I'll share you the song that came out of those lines of prose called Glee. This song is called Free of Charge, and it makes me feel pretty happy, so hopefully it'll do the same for you. The glee within your eyes is ecstasy to see. The delight in which you bathe, give all that see good cheer. And your smile lights up the day, quells the pain and wipes it away. It tells the story that you heard through the hurt that you lived through. Now the truth has come to you, and you give it free of charge as you go on. With struggles you have strained, and now contentment holds the reins. Your elated love gives bliss, your raptured will surely miss. And your smile lit up the day, quelled the pain and wiped it away. Told the story that you heard through the pain that you lived through and the truth that came to you, and you gave it free of charge as you went on. Well, after sharing that bouncy, kind of happy song, free of charge, I'm going to share this poem with you called Grievous Tears. Grievous tears form rivers in forewarn of our demise. The weeping is but our attempt to escape sorrow's desperate mind. Our whimpers turn to wailing, you can hear distressful calls, but a trickle is released from the drops that flow, that let us know that what is just for now. Our vision will recover, our tears like watchful lovers will give us arms to lie in, assure us when we're crying, to let the tears run free, to let it flow, to let needs be. It's not the usual pattern, but sometimes I'll write a song that's totally not related to the poem or prose that inspired the song. This next song is called Drop by Drop, and it was inspired more so by the water disaster that happened in Flint, Michigan, when the government officials diverted the polluted water into the drinking water of the people that lived in Flint, Michigan. And it was a way for them to save money, of course. And then I took that idea and I explored a little bit more what's going on around the world with these conglomerate businesses that are buying up the water rights and then be able to charge whatever they want for people to be able to have water, which is kind of important to survival. And I really invested a lot into making a music video that goes to this song called Drop by Drop. It's on my YouTube site called Dave's Fresh Tunes. I shared some information that is going to be so critical in the future, where these international corporations own the rights to water and are able to exploit that for profit. This song is called Drop by Drop. The pain that drives them on. What once was a trickle now floods our cities wide. Some thought they were untouchable, but the river said you cannot hide. There's a clamor at the gateway, but the king said bar the doors. The water is rising from the tears of those who mourn. They once lived in a country where water was dole all of the water. So let her go, drop by drop, drop by drop. They sold it drop by drop. It's gold they want, and they'll never stop. And they'll never have enough, no matter how much they've got. Look down and say they're all self-made, but their riches have built a living grave. Drop by drop, they sold it drop by drop. It's gold they want, and they'll never stop. And that's it for the Fresh Toones Show this week. I'm going to challenge any songwriters out there, you poets too. Sit down and write some prose, write some poetry. Then if you get a chance, sit down with your instrument of choice and play around with a song, and just let what you've written take you off and sing some songs that you might never have sung before. Have a great week. Have fun. Help other folks when you can. Take care now. Bye. Let us sing now. Lift us up to higher ground. Let us see and hear the sounds, a rising sun and the birds that sing. Release the song, let your love